Welcome to the SEC Unfiltered channel in this Wednesday, January 29th, 2025 SEC basketball reaction presented to you by FanDuel. Visit FanDuel.com/SECU to join today and get started with $200 in bonus bets when you win your first $5 bet. I'm your host, Dave Shumate, bringing it to you every night. If you really want to get Dave Knows Ball Monday, Thursday night, and all the SEC basketball reactions on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Saturday nights, you'll see here on from the SEC Unfiltered. Wild night, guys. 2 down to the wire finishes in our 9 p.m. Eastern slot. You had Bama, Mississippi State, a phenomenal road game for Alabama. Phenomenal blackout type environment at the hump. Kind of felt like old Rick Stansbury hump days a little bit if you're Mississippi State guys. That was a fun game to watch. Ole Miss, Texas down to the wire. Ole Miss needed it, had to have it, had to end 3-game losing streak. In the first half, folks, it looked like Ole Miss still hadn't left Tuscaloosa. They'd lost 3 straight. Again, none of the losses were bad, but there were 3 straight. And then Auburn holds off LSU in Baton Rouge at the PMAC, at the Pete Maravich Assembly Center. Auburn got off to a rough start. It let LSU get into some runs, but you never really felt like Auburn was going to lose this game. But again, LSU, I think, playing with a little more confidence. Will they probably collect enough wins to make the NCAA tournament? Not probably. They're not. But again, it's not. They're not a bad basketball team. Again, they fought Alabama down to the wire, not really to the wire, but deep into that second half on Saturday in Tuscaloosa, and they made Auburn think about it, cut it down to 4 or 5 with about 8-9 minutes left. It was something like that. But let's get right into it, folks. Let's pull up. Let's pull up the scores from today. Loading it right here. I don't know why it's going a little. There we go. Right there, folks. There we go. Right there. Let's start off with the Alabama Mississippi State game. I think it's the best game of the night. Obviously, Alabama getting the 88-84 win over Mississippi State. Alabama led 44-39 at half. Again, Mississippi State came out a little hot. Again, Josh Hubbard, career night. That's a major headline in this. And also, I think, before we get into the stats, and I apologize, this, I think, officially cements Alabama. And again, I think we knew this, and I think a lot of people knew this, but it officially cements them as a true SEC title contender now. Because they get Georgia at home. I think that could be sneaky because Georgia's got enough talent to make this thing interesting. And it was a physical game. Can Alabama bounce back after this and play well at home on Saturday? It necessarily played well, especially in conference play at home this year so far outside the Oklahoma game. So that'll be interesting. But it does give you, they get Georgia. They're off midweek. At Arkansas, at Texas, and then host Auburn for the big one on February 15th. Tonight would have been, you'd been 2 games back. You need to be you still need to be, only have 1 loss. You need to think about, you need to be about 8-1, I think it'd be heading into that Auburn game. Because Auburn's not going to rack up a bunch of losses. And I know you fans out there probably get tired of hearing me say that every night. They're just not. So you got to stay in it. You got to try to go the distance with them and give your shot at the end. But Alabama, I thought they did that. Josh Hubbard was phenomenal. But Bama shooting 49% from the field, 48% from beyond the arc. Mississippi State, 50% from the field, 32% from beyond the arc. Free throws, 20 for Alabama, 16 for Mississippi State. Very physical game, like I mentioned, where Alabama was not good tonight. You saw it down the stretch. They missed 3 in a row with Grant Nelson, Mo Diabate. Again, a massive possession for him. That'll be underrated because he didn't make the free throws. But Bama missed 3 free throws in a row to ice the game with Grant Nelson and Mo Diabate. That can't happen. But again, you survived it. Give him credit. Just physical game across the board. The turnovers, Bama floating that danger zone. 14 on the road in a place like the hump tonight. A lot of teams don't overcome that and get a win still. So I'll give Bama the credit there. Still 88 points. If you told me, and again, it was the Murphy and Josh Hubbard show. I mean, those were the only people who could really do anything for Mississippi State. Again, like RJ Melendez seemed off after he went out a little bit. He's one of their better shooters, but 84 points for Mississippi State. They expect to win most games, but their best night offensively that they played so far in league play came against probably the best offense overall, highest ceiling offense in the league. It's just unfortunate Josh Hubbard's big-time performance is going to be in a loss. Like, you would have liked to see him. And it looked like he was going out. I was texting a friend group. I was like, dude, I hope this isn't an Achilles. And again, I'm not projecting, but thankfully it wasn't. I mean, we saw his ability to play, finish, hit some big-time shots. It definitely was not affecting him, folks. But again, Bama's largest lead was 9. State's was 6 in the first half. I felt like Bama never really could get it above 8 to 9. State would go on their run. I mean, it's the sport of basketball, as you guys know. So game of runs, but it really was a game of runs tonight. No one could separate. State couldn't get that last hoorah. They tied it. Then Bama got some key defensive stops, and Bama struggled defensively tonight. And the rebounding, I mean, overall was 41-35. Bama got a little bit better in the second half. They did there, so I'll give them credit there. Going to the box score, talk about some individual players. Let's give it to the Crimson Tide first. Give them their flowers as the victor. 23 points for Chris Youngblood, and this is the Chris Youngblood we'd heard about all summer. The South Florida transfer. He'd previously been at Kennesaw State as well. The Tuscaloosa native, actually. 7 from 11 from the field. 7 for 10 from the other. 70%. Shot 3 points from beyond the arc tonight. They needed every one of his 23 points. Phenomenal job. Grabbed 2 boards as well. That was his obvious best game in a Crimson Tide uniform. They're going to need that. 17 for Mark Sears. I thought he had 6 boards, phenomenal boards, 9 assists. That was one of Mark Sears' better games. And I think he answered the bell after what happened on Saturday. And I think a lot of people want to make a big deal about it. We see SEC Network out there like, oh, Mark Sears, like, what about him getting benched? Like, dude, I just think Nate Oates has that luxury this year where he can be tied at half in an SEC game. Again, granted, against LSU, you can say they're bottom 2 of the league, whatever you want to say. But still, we saw it tonight. They were capable of playing with Auburn too. So it's a little dangerous. That's how deep this Alabama team is. When Darion Reed's healthy, they go 10 deep. So, I mean, again, he has the luxury to do that. He said it in his press conference, like no one's above the program, even above the head coach. It was just a learning. It was just a learning situation. Did Mark Sears like it? Did his family like it? No, probably not. But you got to respect the decision there. And it seemed like something had worked. And I don't think Nate Oates would do this to Mark Sears. He wouldn't have benched him if he didn't think he could handle it. I'll just leave it at that. I thought Grant Nelson, 15 points, 7 boards. Cliff Amore, 6 points, 6 boards. These had interesting minutes tonight. Really nothing from Jaron Stevenson. If I'm Nate Oates, I'm circling the wagons there a little bit. 0 points, over 5 from the field, over 3 from beyond the arc, only 1 rebound. Didn't get a lot out of Jaron. Off the bench, Aiden Holloway again, just making some tough shots, 4 for 9 from the field, 3 from 7 from beyond the arc. Just it really fits this offense. One of the best shooters they've had so far in a league play they've had since Nate Oates has been at Alabama. For Mississippi State, I mean, it was the Josh Hubbard night. 38 points. Let me repeat myself for the people in the back. 38 points for Josh Hubbard tonight. 14 for 28, 6 of 15 from the field, 4 for 4 from the free throw line, 3 assists. Phenomenal night for him. And then outside Murphy, I mean, like I said, I may have mistaken, not Cam Matthews. I meant Keyshawn Murphy. Outside of Murphy, 18 points. He's really just Murphy and Hubbard just going back and forth, sprinkled in with some big shots and some big plays by Michael Nwoko at times. I mean, if you're Mississippi State, you hate that you kind of wasted that offense performance. And again, you can't do anything about it. It is what it is. You had a chance to get a big home win, and that's not going to affect Mississippi State. They're certainly a tournament team. It's just he's got it, man. Any other night, they probably win that game. They probably win that game any day of the night. Against any other team that night, probably, especially at home. Todd Holtley, appreciate you listening, man. It was going to be a close game. UA wasn't favored. Yeah, I agree. I thought it would go down the wire. I mean, the line said it kept going back and forth. Both teams would switch about 1.5, as I saw last night. Kevin Nichols, great road win. It was. I think that was one Bama needed to really make, that Auburn February 15th, if Bama can handle business. And I think that Texas game could be a little tougher. And I think Saturday, because it's going to be a physical game. You got to flip that switch. You're playing late Wednesday night. Georgia played yesterday. Their prep started today for you. You're a little behind the 8 ball in that. I mean, Nate Oates knows that. And it's just a quick, hour and 15-minute drive, 82 miles up the road. It's not a bad road trip, quick bus trip. But anyways, you got to come ready because Georgia's capable. They're capable. Hadn't got that big road win. Hadn't played well on the road, but they're capable. Salute. It's my life. Joshy Manning, Dr. Dave with the Achilles diagnosis. No, I mean, just looks similar to something that Latrell Wrightsell had for Alabama early in the year where he tore his Achilles. Tyler Aldrich, Mississippi State sold so badly. Full Court Network. Luke. Ole Miss, big win for your boy Chris Beard and the boys. Again, friend of the show. He'd been on during the summer as well, folks. But again, Alabama getting the 88-84 win over Mississippi State. What is next for Alabama? I already mentioned their next game, Saturday, Georgia. It's a big one. Again, you can't sleepwalk into that one. You can't, because again, they're capable and they're hungry for that big signature road win that could start to cement, get them a little bit or get them on the right side of the bubble, I should say, from that perspective. Going to Mississippi State. Mississippi State goes to South Carolina. Let me make sure they go No, Mississippi State go host Missouri this weekend. Yep, noon. That's the first game on Saturday. Host Missouri this weekend in Starkville. So back-to-back home wins. You don't want to go 0-2 a week. I know that's stating the obvious, so you got to win this one. You had an opportunity, but you got to flush it. You got to flush it. Both teams got to flush it for different reasons. But Alabama getting the 88-84 win over Mississippi State. Moving on to the next one. Let's go. Ole Miss getting the 72-69 win over Texas and Rodney Terry. Again, Chris Beard getting a win over his former team. Now in the league, Ole Miss shooting 39 points. Both teams shot 39.7% from the field. There you go. 33.3% for the Rebs, 22.7% from beyond the arc. Free throw differential. I mean, Ole Miss 11 more. I mean, it's normal. Nobody too bad for the rebounds. Texas. That's where Ole Miss is starting to get in trouble. And again, I think Ole Miss is the second smallest lineup, I think, in the SEC. I think they're 15th. I have to go check. I think they're 15th, though. Second smallest lineup in the SEC. So it's not shocking. Again, that's why it's kind of wild they out-rebounded Alabama in that win. It was kind of an anomaly, and they've gotten out-rebounded every other game. So it's not too surprising. But you get out-rebounded like that at home, it's tough to overcome that at times. Turnovers, 11. Ole Miss only 4. 11 for Texas, 4 for Ole Miss. I mean, largest lead for Texas. They got it out to 13. First half was rough for Ole Miss defensively. They let Trey Johnson get way too many open looks. I think he had 12 points off the top of my head when I was looking at the stats at halftime. I think he had 12 at half. He finished Trey with 22. But again, giving the flowers to the Rebels first. Sean Padula, 19 points. Key Cobb, man. He's 50% from the field, 7 for 14, 4 for 7 from beyond the arc. 5 assists as well. 17 points. Dre Davis kind of turned it on in the second half. 17 points, 6 from 11 from the field, 2 of 4 from beyond the arc. Juju Murray hit some big shots late when they needed it. Jamin Brakefield, again, they always need one of Brakefield or Morrell. Matthew Morrell, Jamin Brakefield to step up. 18 points for Brakefield tonight. So that was key. You like what you see from that perspective there. I mean, not an overall great shooting night, but you know what? You only turn the ball over 4 times. That'll win. Again, wasn't always pretty, 72-69, not an overly high scoring game, but again, when you don't give teams that many extra possessions, you're at home, good chance to win. For Texas, again, that had been 3 straight conference wins, going back to what Missouri and then the A&M come from behind win last week. Had a phenomenal week last week. But Texas drops to 14-7, 3-5 now. Sorry, I should have said earlier. Ole Miss now 16-5, 5-3 in league play. But 3-5, man, for Texas. Man, it is what it is. But they really could have had this one tonight, and they kind of let a double-digit lead slip away late, 72-69. But Trey Johnson, 22 points, 6 of 16 from the field, 2-8 from beyond the arc. And like most nights, guys, Arthur Kaluma's right after him. I mean, it's usually Trey Johnson or Arthur Kaluma. Kaluma, 12 points, coming back from injury, 7 boards. No blocks. Usually have a little bit more than that. I mean, again, only 69 points. Outside of that, Jordan Pope with 8. Tremont Mark with 6. Caden Shedrick with 9. Shedrick's getting a little better. I mean, 9 points, 6 boards. He's playing a little bit more physical down in that front court, and that's where I've been wanting to see a little bit more from him. So I'll take that from Caden Shedrick if I'm being completely honest from that perspective. Again, not an always pretty win for Ole Miss, and I think they would like to be. It's wild to say. I think they adjusted in the second half to what Texas. Like I was saying, they let Trey Johnson get way too many open looks. I think he had 12 at half, like I mentioned. And again, he had 10 in the second half. He got to double digits, but you contained him. You contained him a little bit. You really just can't let anybody else go off, and that's what Ole Miss did. They didn't let anybody else go off. I mean, the next high score was 12. Was Arthur Kaluma coming off an injury with 12. But Ole Miss, the Rebels, baby, end up getting the 72-69 win. What is next for the Ole Miss Rebels this week? Coming up on Saturday for the Rebs, they host Auburn, which is an interesting one on Saturday. That'll be 1 p.m. Eastern on ESPN. That'll be an interesting one. It feels like Auburn's first real challenge on the road in league play. Again, they're back to Auburn's back-to-back road games this week at LSU tonight. We're about to discuss that one. They go on the road, afternoon showdown at the Pavilion. That'll be interesting. Ole Miss doesn't have to have that one, but man, that'd be a massive win. Again, Auburn sitting there, they're trying to stay undefeated in league play. Coming up next for the Texas Longhorns. Texas Longhorns will travel to Baton Rouge to the PMAC, Pete Maravich Assembly Center for the folks who don't know, at LSU on Saturday. I believe, 6 p.m. Eastern on the SEC network. So they need this. Again, you can't afford to lose games like at LSU, because I think LSU, Arkansas, and South Carolina are the 3 SEC teams that are just out of the tournament. Most likely, unless something changes. I think we can all agree on that, right? I think we can all agree on that. So that's why, like, if you're Texas, Texas, they're flirting wrong side, right side bubble. I think they lean a little wrong side right now. Because, again, I mentioned those 4 teams. Some people may argue that they think Vandy's a lock to be in. I don't think that's the case yet. 2 big wins at home against Tennessee and Kentucky, taking nothing away from you. Great first year from Byington. But I think the SEC, it's going to depend out of these 4 teams how many they ultimately get. Vandy, Georgia, Oklahoma, and Texas. How many of those 4 we get from the league? So that'll be that percentage. But, again, Texas has they have a game on Saturday they can't afford to lose. That's not good on the resume. It's not good for the SEC standings. That is no bueno anywhere across the board, folks. But you know what is bueno across the board, folks? Super Bowl 59, 1 game, 2 teams, endless possibilities. There's no better way to make up every play more exciting than with FanDuel Sportsbook. Whether you're predicting the first down, who will take home the MVP trophy, or the coin toss, FanDuel makes it easy to place your bets and feel the thrill of every moment. With live betting all game long, you can jump into the action, adjust your bets, and ride the wave of excitement from kickoff to the final whistle. Plus, to make the Super Bowl even sweeter, new customers can score $200, folks. That's $200 when you make your first bet. Just place a $5 bet, and if you win, you'll get $200 in bonus bets. Download the app or head to FanDuel.com/SEC. You and bet with FanDuel, official partner of Super Bowl 59. Must be 21 plus and present in select states. For Kansas, an affiliation with the Kansas Star Casino, or 18 years old or older and present in D.C. First online real money order, wager only. $5 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets, which expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit fanduel.com/RG. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut, or visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or 800-327-5050 for 27 support in Massachusetts, or call 1-877-HOPE-NY or text NY in New York, folks. Let's go back to some comments right here. Joshy Manning, Dave, I'm going to say it. Rodney Terry coaches well tonight. I'm back on the Rodney Terry train. Yeah, last week and a half have not been for Texas. It would have not been bad. If they would have got the road win tonight, that'd been big. And again, I wasn't disappointed in them tonight. Again, offensively, again, somebody's got to get going outside Trey Johnson. But I agree. Last week and a half has been fine for the Longhorns. I'm not ready to totally say I'm back on the Rodney Terry train yet, though. Cody Ritchie, appreciate you listening, man. Auburn did great tonight. Yeah. I mean, any road win in this league. And again, LSU's not a terrible they're a bad basketball team. They do what bad teams do. They turn the ball over. Death, taxes. We'll talk about LSU in a minute, but they turn the basketball over a lot. Auburn kind of flexed its muscles whenever LSU kind of tried to get back in it. Joshy Manning, refs suck. They let Ole Miss just blast our dudes. Meanwhile, the guy who cosplayed a small Alex Caruso got every call. Oh, Sean Padula. But next game we got here coming up, we just talked about it a little bit. Auburn getting the 87-74 win over the LSU Tigers down in Baton Rouge at the PMAC. Auburn improves to 9-1, 7-0. LSU drops to 12-8, 1-6 in league play, in an 87-74 13-point win for the Auburn Tigers. Auburn shot 40% from the field, 32% from beyond the arc. LSU 47.1% from the field, 36.4% from beyond the arc. What's the free throw discrepancy? I mean, LSU shot 5 more free throws, nothing too bad. Rebounds, I mean, out-rebounded by 13. That ain't really going to cut it. And then the story of this game, folks, I can go right to it. Auburn was what? Plus 11 in turnover margin. LSU had 20 at home. You had 20 turnovers at home. I mean, Bama had 21 against Ole Miss and lost. I mean, I think someone else had 25 in the same night. I forgot in the league. South Carolina. It was South Carolina same night. It was a turnover fest that night. But 20 turnovers, no, you're not going to win. You're especially not going to beat the number 1 team and hands down number 1 team in the country, I think, right now. Some Duke fans may not like that, but I don't know how many Duke fans are joining us tonight. Auburn's largest lead, 15. LSU 6. I mean, LSU got up 7-0 right out of the bat, but nothing. I mean, how many points was off that turnovers? Yeah, 22 points to LSU's 12 off that. I mean, yeah, I mean, that's the difference there. I mean, for the victors here, Auburn, again, Janai Broome, 26 points, still looks a little rusty, and that makes sense. Coming off the high ankle sprain, he was out a week and a half, 2 weeks. It makes sense, but it feels like someone's always picking him up. I mean, Miles Kelly had some big threes, had some big shots, 50% from the field tonight, 2 for 7 from beyond the arc, 13 points. Janai Broome, like I mentioned, 26 points, 16 boards, a walking double-double. I say he came off looking rusty. I mean, hear me here. And I'm saying he just a walking double-double with a cool 26 points and 16 boards. I mean, come on, folks. 11 points from CBM, Chad Baker-Mazara there from that perspective. Then off the bench, you got good minutes again, like you usually do, Tahad Pettiford. A guy for Auburn that never plays, only plays 3 minutes. I shouldn't say never. But JP Pegues, remember the Furman transfer was supposed to be big? And again, I mean, it's a compliment to guys like Tahad Pettiford, Miles Kelly, Denver Jones. They don't let him play because he's been playing so well. But still, Auburn, again, was it always pretty? No. But, I mean, they were in control of this game. You never thought Auburn was going to lose this game. And they're up 41-29.5. They're up 12. Just had a slow start. Had a little lull in the back half of the second half to where Jordan Sears for LSU, who finished with 11 points, hit some big threes. I mean, he was about 50% from beyond the arc tonight. Had some big threes. Cam Carter was big for him as well, 24 points. So LSU hit some tough shots to kind of keep chipping away. They wouldn't let Auburn go just get a lead and run away with it and go high. They kept chipping away. They'd go on like their own 5-0, 6-0 run to cut it to 8, cut it to 5, and just couldn't get it past that. And it was what it was. So, I mean, from that perspective, you were, again, never in jeopardy from that perspective. For the Auburn Tigers. Again, I think Auburn's one of the teams in the country that is them and Duke have locked up 2 of the 4 number 1 seeds, I think, right now. But coming up for Auburn this week, again, I mentioned it, that interesting matchup. Their toughest road game so far in league play at Ole Miss. I mean, their road game so far in league play at Texas, at South Carolina, and at Georgia. Definitely Ole Miss is the toughest road game so far. So that'll be interesting. Early game at the Pavilion, Ole Miss finally got that losing streak, and those 3 losses off the bat. And again, they weren't bad losses to Mississippi State in overtime on the road, to Missouri, or to Texas A&M in a buzzer beater in Missouri on the road. I mean, what are you going to do about it? I mean, those aren't bad at all. Finally got the Texas win. But for LSU, what is next? I mentioned Texas comes to town this weekend. They host them. So back-to-back home games for LSU. They really need one. Again, they're not officially out. I feel pretty confident in saying LSU's not going to make the NCAA tournament. I think most people would agree. But I feel pretty confident in saying that across the board. So nothing too disappointing there. They need to somehow get a win against Texas this week and kind of maybe go steal one in Athens after that. Maybe get Ole Miss at home. They need some kind of signature wins. And again, it's not a bad team. You don't sit there and watch it. Man, Matt McMahon's team is just – what's not going to help Matt McMahon is people see Mark Byington's first year at Vandy, and they're probably going to make the tournament, or they would if it ended today right now. And even not, it's just an improved, really good year for Vandy. And this is year 3 for Matt McMahon, and you still feel like you're not even to Vanderbilt's level, right? It's like, how did he go do that in year 1? And it's like, we're in year 3 still rebuilding. Especially how you can, and how the roster attrition in basketball is even worse than football when you look at it percentage-wise because there's less players. But no, that's what will hurt, man. I mean, not a bad team, just death taxes, and they turn the basketball over, and that'll get you beat every time. 20 turnovers against the number 1 team in the country. I don't care where you're playing them. If you're playing them at home, Mars, I don't care. Like, you're not going to win that game. Before we get out of here, guys, Cody Ritchie, got to keep it rolling for the Tigers from Auburn to keep that number 1 standing. We're going to get it done and need to continue to grind every week. Hope it'll keep up. Yeah. I mean, both teams, the Alabama Auburn showdown a little bit. Well, I mean, let's pull up the schedule. Let's see what both these teams have left. For Alabama to roll in with 1 league loss into that and Auburn to stay undefeated, this is what has to happen. This is Alabama's stretch before the Auburn game, folks. They host Georgia this week. They have a midweek bye. They don't play the midweek. They go at Arkansas next Saturday night, and they go at Texas. And then they host Auburn on Saturday, February 15th. I mean, Bama will be favored in all 3 of those games. Let's call a spade a spade. I think Georgia's an interesting one. I think Bama should win that. It's just a tough physical game like tonight. Georgia's already had an extra day to prep. It just, again, I think Bama's going to win this game. They'll probably be favored by double digits. It's just, we've seen it. Bama's been sloppy at times, and they play to the level of competition a little bit. Big win tonight solidifies them in the conference race. But Georgia, I mean, Arkansas is not a good basketball team. They only have 8 guys. Alabama, I don't know if they can go 12 rounds with Alabama this year. I don't know. I don't really care where it's played. And that Texas could be a little. I mean, again, we've seen Alabama let Dylan Harper go off on them. We saw We saw Josh Hubbard tonight. Again, those are two phenomenal scorers. We've seen that happen. I think Braden Smith dropped a ton when they went to Purdue and Mackey Arena. So we've seen guys kind of take over games against Alabama before. Malik Dia was one. That's kind of the slate for Bama. For Auburn to roll into that matchup undefeated into Coleman Coliseum, they head to Oxford this week at the Pavilion. Again, toughest road matchup they've had this year. Oklahoma at home, you feel good about that for them. Florida at home, that's a tough one. And at Vandy, I think Auburn's probably got a little bit of the more difficult path because they get Florida. Alabama gets Florida in the last 5 games of the year. And then at Vandy, I mean, we've seen what Memorial's done to some teams. Now, I think Auburn's better in Kentucky and Tennessee, but still, we've seen what Memorial does. Memorial Magic so far this year, folks. But, man, last comment here. Eli Wilson-Padula was wetting threes, my guy. Getting calls is a poor excuse. Yeah, but big win for Ole Miss. They needed it, folks. They certainly needed it. But, guys, I appreciate you listening. What do we go? About 25 minutes. Again, we're splitting. You have these midweek buys now, so we're 3 on Tuesday, 3 on Wednesday, guys. But, folks, I appreciate you joining us, guys, on this SEC basketball reaction presented by FanDuel. Visit FanDuel.com/SECU to join today to get started with $200 in bonus bets when you win your first $5 bet, folks. Again, for Dave Shumate here in the SEC Unfiltered channel, guys, go like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Let's go get to that 20,000 subscription base. I know all 500 of you listening right now are not subscribed. Go like, subscribe, rate, review. Tell us how bad we are. Tell us how we can get better for you. But there's no better SEC entity out there to cover the sports of football, basketball, and baseball. Like I said, baseball is right around the corner. 2 weeks away, really. 2.5 weeks. Harrison Fant and Chris Phillips will carry you into that, guys. But again, for your host, Dave Shumate, I will see you tomorrow night. Or if I don't see you tomorrow night on Dave Knows Ball, I will see you Saturday night reacting to all the matchups from the SEC on the hardwood on Saturdays. But you have a phenomenal rest of your week. If I do not see you tomorrow night on Dave's No Ball. But for Dave Shumate and the rest of the SEC Unfiltered family, you have a great rest of your night.